Hobby King's great EPP FPV does not come with landing gear. I decided to add landing gear to my aircraft and provide a video now to show you step by step how to add landing gear to your airplane as well. Here you have the main landing gear. I used 75mm foam wheels from Hobby King, and the basic construction is made from aluminum bar 3/4 inch wide and 1/8 of an inch thick. The measurements here: 2 inches, 7 inches, and where the wheel is attached, approximately 3/4 of an inch over there, and the distance between the two main struts is 5.5 inches. I drilled a few holes to lighten it a little bit. A good position for the main landing gear is to line it up with the leading edge of the wing, and then I got the position set right by penetrating the fuselage in this way. Before the time I made sure that the alignment was perpendicular to the length of the fuselage, and underneath I lined it up with the center line of the fuselage as well. To get the dowel to go through the fuselage, I just slightly pointed the end of it like that. It's very easy to do. You just attach it to your bench drill and hold the file to it while it's rotating. Then the pilot hole was already made using a very thin shaft. Then use a slightly thicker diameter to make it a bit bigger, and then from there you just continue along the same vein using bigger and bigger materials until you can get to the point where you can penetrate the foam using the sharpened dowel. To penetrate the opposite side of the foam, first enlarge the guide hole as shown earlier, then leave the tip protruding on the inside so that you can follow it on its way out with the dowel. And there you have it. The dowel is right through, and there is no loose fitting issues here. In fact, it is really tight into the foam there. To make the plywood support for the side supports of the main gear, I used a little scrap piece of plywood and used a hole saw to cut 2 round washer-like pieces out of it. The next step is to put the plywood supports over the dowel, and it must be a real snug fit, and you push it in until it fits like that, more or less. And then the outline can be marked using a marker so that a recess can be made in the foam so that when it's all said and done, it can be a nice flush fit here. Remove only enough foam so that the dowel and its support can be fitted flush to the surface, and no more, because the rest will be filled up with epoxy, which is heavy. Here you can see the foam that was removed to allow the washer to fit into the little recess, and once it's fitted it will be a flush mount like that. At this point I still have to put the epoxy in. I have now also started to make the recess for the bottom where the center support will go. Here is the wooden support block for the center of the main gear. It fits into this little recess perfectly, and once it's in there it will be a flush fit. I removed only enough of the foam to make room for the wood so that I can use the minimum amount of epoxy. Now the wooden supports for the main landing gear has been epoxied into place and is drying. Everything is flush fit, so if I wish to land in the original belly landing configuration, it will still be able to do that. Here you can now see the main gear attached. It is simply attached by putting these 3 screws in place, and removal, of course, is removing the 3 screws, which returns it to a belly landing configuration. The construction of the tail wheel is very simple. I used popsicle sticks to create a basic structure through which the tail wheel is anchored. The steering, which is connected to the rudder push rod, is a simple Z-bend and Z-bend, which is easy to disassemble. 2 screws will attach it to the tail boom. 2 pieces of wood is glued to the tail boom to create anchoring points for the tail wheel itself. They also serve to protect the stab attachment structures when the tail wheel is not attached. During belly landing, I find that these structures often get hit by ground objects and may be damaged. In this way, even without the tail wheel, these structures are protected. Here is the detail of the tail wheel structures in place. It is held in position by these two screws, and there is a simple Z-bend connecting the tail wheel to the rudder push rod. So how much does it all weigh? Before any modifications, the aircraft weighed 1,580 grams. With the landing gear positioned as shown here, the aircraft weighs 1,741 grams, which is a weight gain of 161 grams, a minor penalty to add landing gear to such a great flying aircraft. When the landing gear is removed, the only weight gained by the aircraft are these little wooden support structures, and in that configuration the aircraft weighs 1,611 grams, which is a weight gain of only 31 grams over stock form. It is still able to belly land as always in that configuration. That summarizes the conversion of my aircraft. I hope you find it useful, and maybe if you have access to good carbon fiber, you may be able to make the landing gear even lighter than the aluminum gear I made. That said, however, the aluminum is quite light and does not change the weight of the aircraft very much. This is a highly recommended modification, and this is one of my favorite aircraft now. It's like the sport utility vehicle in my hangar, and with the landing gear it is even more useful than before.